Hey guys, Faithful Slave here, and I thought that since Christmas is only like a week away, that I'd have a few words about the holiday and where I stand on it. Christmas was tricky for me. It was tough for a few years after I came out of the Jehovah's Witness organization because we were taught so many things about it that really put a bad taste in your mouth for the holidays, especially Christmas. When you learn about the pagan roots of it all, even after coming out of the Jehovah's Witness organization, you still kind of feel put off by the holiday. I spent my entire life bashing Christmas as a Jehovah's Witness, making fun of people who celebrated it, being a Grinch, spoiling people's fun by bringing out the pagan roots. And then, I started a family, which kind of changed everything. Because then you realize that Christmas is a very joyful time of year, and especially for kids. And kids, I always loved the lights. I always hated the music, but I always secretly, in the back of my mind, was curious about the whole thing, all the different elements of it. I've always loved wrapped presents. I mean, who doesn't love wrapped presents? And that's something growing up Jehovah's Witness that you really don't get to experience very often. It was a very rare thing. Somebody wrapped you a present. Some occasions where they might wrap a present for a kid in the organization would be like graduating from high school or something like that. But really, that was about it. So there's a lot of envy going on growing up Jehovah's Witness towards Christmas. And that doesn't go away automatically when you leave the organization. But as I said, once you have kids, all that changes. You want the very best for your kids. You want to give them the world. And Christmas is a very magical time of year, and basically what I asked myself is, what is the real harm? I don't like to be hypocritical at all, me personally. Like, hypocrisy is something that really bugs me. So what I had to do is I had to look at the holiday and see what about it was hypocritical to me, because what about it I liked, what about it I didn't like. And so I did a lot of soul searching. I did a lot of research. When I moved up here into the north, the snow was something that I had not experienced really. I mean, I'd been in the snow before when I visited relatives in the north, but living up here and experiencing a real winter and a real Christmas, it really helped me appreciate seasons, which is something growing up in Florida you don't really get. You really don't understand that there's a life cycle, there's a death and rebirth cycle that the world goes through, and you kind of miss that growing up in Florida. And that's something that's very heavily ingrained upon us as humans. All living things actually are acutely aware of this cycle. And I think Christmas is an important landmark, or an important marker on this annual cycle that the world goes through. The pagans, which is what we taught against all of our lives, for me, they got it right better than anyone else. They had the solstice, which was usually somewhere between December 21st to the 23rd, usually one of those days anyway. This year, the solstice falls on the 22nd, which is called Yule. And basically, this is the day where the dark half of the year is over. It marks the rebirth of the sun. And on this day, the 22nd, is the last of the of the days where the sun is receding. After the 22nd, the sun begins to return. It gets the days begin to get longer instead of getting shorter. We come closer to the sun, which is an important day, and I definitely don't see the harm in recognizing that, especially if you're a person who's very conscious of the world around you. When you're in tune with everything that's going on in nature, and I think so much of humanity's problems today are directly or indirectly caused by just being completely out of touch with nature and completely out of touch with the cycle. And so I think that the solstice, the Yule, is very important. And mankind has been celebrating this time of year from the very beginning, because this time of year there's nothing more you can do in the field. The harvesting work is done, the planting and all of that is done. There's nobody going to be in the fields anymore. Now they're waiting for the sun to return. They're getting through these last months, these next upcoming months of winter, and waiting for the whole thing to start over again. And so it's a very reflective time for all of us. It's always been. And Jehovah's Witnesses would penalize you for acknowledging these days and this time of year and celebrating it at all. There is a lot of negative to be said about some of the ways the pagans in years past have celebrated. It used to be Saturnalia. The Romans used to practice Saturnalia before they converted to Christianity. And that was a week of heavy partying, and it got pretty violent. I guess the whole celebration wasn't violent, but at the end of it, somebody got sacrificed to fight the darkness, which, is not humankind's greatest hour. But there were a lot of harmless celebrations that were done for this time of year. For Yule, for example, they just lit bonfires. Children went around giving gifts. The bows, that's pagan in origin. The bows were symbolic of immortality. Evergreens were sacred to the Celts because they did not die, or they didn't appear to, because they thrived even during the cold months. And then you had the Celts and a lot of the other pagans would put a sprig of holly by the door in hopes it was an invitation for sprites and good spirits to join them in their festivities and in their celebration. I believe the mistletoe was Norse in origin. You had the burning of the Yule Log, which, we all put wood on the fire when it's cold outside, don't we? There's nothing more enjoyable than having a fireplace, having some real wood burning, and warming up next to the fire. These things I see no harm in. I don't look at them as, they're pagan, therefore they're evil, because you have to remember that the pagans before Christianity know nothing of the devil that the Christians would have you believe is behind everything, or the Jehovah's Witnesses would have you believe. Not all Christians think this way. But these things actually predate the devil. So I think it's a little ignorant to look at these celebrations as being inspired by the devil, just because they're pagan. And remember, pagan is any sort of belief that is not Christian. There is the thinking that is pushed on all of us that if it's not Christian, then it must be inspired by the devil, which, as I said earlier, I personally feel that to be just a little ignorant, considering that paganism predates Christianity. So, for those reasons, I like the tree. The tree is a very harmless, pagan symbol, just like the boughs, the mistletoe, the giving of gifts, all these things, the wood on the fire, these things were meant to mark our journey through time, mark our experience of where we're at in the death and rebirth cycle of the earth. And I see nothing wrong with it. I actually look forward to it now. It's a time when family and friends come together, and it's nice to have a day where everyone gives back. Everyone's acknowledged, and it's just a beautiful time of year. It's a beautiful holiday. Now, that being said, there are portions of Christmas that I do not subscribe to. The whole St. Nicholas thing. St. Nicholas died, and he had a cult following that spread through Germany, and the Celts picked up on this cult thing, and St. Nicholas became Santa Claus or whatever, which is okay, except for the fact that this is very close to what I don't like about the Jehovah's Witnesses, which is pushing an idea of something that does not exist in reality upon our children. False ideas, misleading ideas. A lot of people think the whole Santa Claus thing, oh, it's harmless fun. I don't care either, except for when parents start lying to their children about an imaginary being that does not actually exist, lying to their face, and getting their hopes up for something that ultimately they're eventually going to find out was bullshit. And it's just too close for me to what I went through being a Jehovah's Witness, being lied to by my friends and family, my parents, into believing something that ended up being complete horseshit. I won't do that to my kids. My kids will never believe that Santa Claus is real. I'm sorry. It just turns me the wrong way. If you do it, I'm not judging you. Do whatever you want. But just me personally, the whole Santa Claus thing, it's unnecessary. Doesn't have any significance that I value. So I let that go. It's not going to be something that's practiced in my house. So, I'd love to hear feedback from you guys in the comments about what you think about Christmas, what you think about paganism, what you think about Yule, Solstice, what you think about Santa Claus, all the traditions. This is something that I'm very curious to know. How many of you guys, you ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, came out of the organization and do not celebrate Christmas? How many of you do? So in closing, I just want to say thank you for watching. Merry Christmas.